Hey, this Sci-Fi Buzz coming up, folks, is going to be super. This week, The Buzz chronicles the life of the Man of Steel on the screen. The fascinating success of Elfquest. Check out the fastest-growing sci-fi magazine. And talk about fast-growing, the effects wizards behind the remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
She's not only alive, she's bigger. What'd you try to do, kill her with a grow light?
You know, if Superman was so smart, why did he wear his underpants on the outside of his clothing? That's what I want to know. And who is in charge of getting this cheesy outfit? I don't believe you people.
It looks really good.
It doesn't even fit. Look at that real baggy.
It's very sexy, Mike.
Really? Is it really? Well, it might work, no matter how bad it looks. Hey, somebody open that window. Whoa. Oh, I do feel more comfortable as Mike Sherrick, even though I did leave those tights on. You know, you fantasy novices out there may only know Superman from things like, well, DC Comics, the Death of Superman hype, or maybe the Christopher Reeve movies, or the new TV show Lois and Clark. Oh, Lois. But did you know that the comic book persona goes back 54 years? And the Man of Steel, oh, look at him, take it right in the chest there from those bald guys. He's been around on screen since the early 1940s.
This is the job for Superman.
America got its first on-screen look at Superman in 17 cartoon shorts released between 1941 and 43. Superman was the first cartoon series that relied exclusively on realistic human characters. Because human anatomy is difficult to animate, each Superman cartoon had a then astronomical budget of $90,000. Nearly 4 times the cost of the average cartoon. Despite their expense, the Superman shorts were a critical and box office success. Hollywood's first live-action Man of Steel took off in 2 movie serials, Superman in 1948 and Atom Man vs. Superman in 1950. They were the top-grossing Saturday afternoon cliffhangers of all time. Former ballet dancer Kirk Allen played Superman, and Noel Neill portrayed Lois Lane. In spite of their on-screen chemistry, Allen and Neill never liked each other and don't hide that fact when they make appearances today.
When I heard him on some of the college shows, he was saying something about, you know, having to pick me up in a rather unflattering way about how much I weighed or something. So we didn't get along too well.
Television wiped out the movie serials, but it took Superman to new heights. The Adventures of Superman TV series hit the airwaves in 1953 and lasted 7 seasons before going into perpetual reruns. To anyone who grew up in the 50s, George Reeves will always be the real Superman. Jack Larson, who played Jimmy Olsen, says no other Superman has ever achieved the realism Reeves did in his takeoffs and landings.
And George would hit the diving board, and do a tuck over camera, and it really looked like he was, you know, taking off, and he would do landings from a ladder or rising, and they would have a bar over whatever he was coming through, wall, whatever, windows, and he would jump from this thing, grab the bar, and do a landing.
The series got maximum bang for a minimum of bucks. To save money, all the Daily Planet scenes for the entire season were shot at once. Noel Neill, who also played Lois Lane on TV, and Jack Larson say it was hard to keep track of which story they were filming.
And they'd have to tell you which show you were in.
Oh, well,
and
that's why we all wore the same outfit.
Yes.
Because we didn't have to change clothes from one story to another.
Another few seconds and it would have been too late, Superman.
Well, it wasn't, Miss Lane, and that's what counts. What time is it?
According to Neil and Larson, George Reeves was almost as noble as the superhero he played. But Larson did drop this bombshell about Reeves.
I'm sorry to tell the kids of the Sci-Fi Channel, but he smoked. He would have given it up now, but he always smoked with a long cigarette holder. It was a black cigarette holder, and it was always interesting to watch George on the sideline, standing there with his cape in a breeze, standing with like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, this cigarette holder.
The Adventures of Superman stopped filming in 1957, but it was scheduled to go back into production in '59. Those plans were dashed by the mysterious death of George Reeves. We'll look into that baffling story in several weeks when we continue with the history of Superman in Hollywood.
This is Billy Surratt in Russell Springs, Kentucky. I would like to recommend Solar, Man of the Atom from Valiant Comics. Solar is a godlike being of pure energy who constantly tries to atone for accidentally destroying the Earth in another dimension. Why not give this and the rest of the Valiant line of comic books a try?
Just down the time stream, secrets behind the success of two hot publications, Science Fiction Age and Elfquest.
Sci-Fi Buzz is brought to you by Jeep and Eagle, a division of the Chrysler Corporation.
Somewhere between all the imported cheese and wine, some people still believe that to get quality, you have to buy an import. Well, this is the Eagle Vision TSI, an American sports sedan that changes all that. With a 24-valve, 214-horsepower engine, anti-lock brakes, even driver and front passenger airbags. All at a price that's lower than a lot of imports. Of course, if you just have to drive a car that's imported, no problem. You can buy a Vision in Germany and have it shipped home.
Hey, do you really have to watch the rest of this stupid movie to see how it's gonna end? Here, take control with Sega CD. Those aliens are masters of disguise.
You've got the firepower, use it!
Not your typical video game, huh?
You call that shooting?
Better pay attention. Those aliens can look like anybody. Your brother, sister, anybody.
Hungry?
Ground Zero, Texas, only on Sega CD.
You are watching Sci-Fi Buzz on the Sci-Fi Channel.
15 years ago, they thought they had defeated a murderous alien parasite. They were wrong. Now the creature is back, deadlier than before. With only an alien cop.
This is my battle.
And an innocent human standing in its way.
It will get ugly.
The Hidden Two, a Sci-Fi Channel planetary premiere. Saturday at 8, 5 Pacific. Creatures of the night come out of the shadows on Dark Shadows. All the episodes shown the way they were intended. Tomorrow at 11, 8 Pacific on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Why is this man smiling? Because he's the editor of the fastest growing sci-fi magazine on the planet, Science Fiction Age.
I write the editorial. I choose all the fiction. I decide what game will be reviewed, what book will be reviewed, what movie we'll be focusing in on, and so forth. You know, for the fiction, for example, in order to get our 6 or 7 stories every 2 months, I read 500 manuscripts a month.
You'll find Science Fiction Age not only in bookstores, but also on the newsstand. It's slick, glossy, and full of top-notch color art. The combination of media reviews and fiction makes it sort of like Esquire, but its contents are all sci-fi.
I would think one of the reasons the magazine is so successful is because you know what you're talking about.
I've been reading, again, science fiction my entire life, and I love the old pulps and the way the old pulps looked in the 40s, black and white with big chunks of paper falling off in your hand and so forth. And but we tried to do something that would attract that wider audience, again, of those people who love science fiction but don't realize it. If everyone who went to see Jurassic Park picked up a copy of the magazine, we'd be pleased. But there are all those science fiction people out there who we have to bring back to the written word and show them that magazines and books have relevance to what they like when they go to see these movies.
In just over a year, Scott Edelman and the Science Fiction Age staff have succeeded in snaring that broader readership. After just 8 issues, each edition is selling 75,000 copies. But in spite of the magazine's early success, like a lot of sci-fi writers and editors, Scott keeps his day job.
I am a mortgage banker, yes. Mortgage banker by trade. Does that sound science fictional for you? Yes. By day, I decide whether or not you get your mortgage.
But banking seems so analytical.
Oh, I don't know. Looking at the people's lives and figuring out the future, that's science fictional. Will they make the payment or not? Doesn't that sound like science fiction to you?
This is James Chambliss from Destin, Florida. I would like to recommend Guns to the South by Harold Turtles. It's an alternate reality novel about Robert E. Lee and how he wins the Civil War through interference by time travel.
If you've called our buzzboard line, you know that we don't always answer with a live person. Sometimes it's Fred.
LA's biggest comic book store, Golden Apple, was in a state of pandemonium recently all over the independently published fantasy comic Elfquest. What makes this little comic so popular? Who better to ask than a few of the hundreds of fans here? They waited over an hour to get up close and personal with Elfquest's husband and wife team, Richard and Wendy Peeney.
They address a lot of social issues in there that you don't see other places. They're a lot more acceptive of outside of the norm kind of thinking. And the artwork is beautiful, the colors are wonderful, the story is well put together. It's a great book.
Well, I wanted to meet him up close. I always did. Ever since I started to read Elfquest.
The Elfquest craze began 15 years ago when an ambitious couple from Poughkeepsie, New York decided to jump headfirst into the comic book game.
Nobody said that we couldn't do it when we started, so we just blindly blundered into becoming publishers.
Though the Peenies admit that it's a jungle out there, competitively, they've been able to stand out with a steady dose of distinctiveness and determination.
Elfquest has a decidedly feminine side to it, which is unusual for comic books to begin with. They're largely produced for males by males. I'm a bit of a freak in the industry. But the feminine side doesn't necessarily mean soft or squishy. It just means that it takes a deeper look at certain things that other comics don't.
How did Elfquest manage to attract female readers, since comic book shops are predominantly a male domain? Well, when the first Elfquest compilation book came out in 1981, the Peenies went mainstream.
It turned out to be very, very successful because not only were we able to sell this volume in comic shops, but we were also able to place it into mainstream bookstores, something that very few other comics projects had done before. And we have a great deal of success in mainstream bookstores with Elfquest.
This is how we gain a lot of our female readership, because a lot of women don't ordinarily shop in comic shops, but they do shop in the big chain bookstores.
Wendy and Richard pride themselves on providing readers with a decent story. As a matter of fact, Wendy, the creative mastermind behind the Elfquest series, shuns comic book tradition and makes it her top priority.
I see a trend in the storytelling in a lot of comics that disturbs me simply by the fact that it's not good storytelling. It relies a lot on violence, it relies a lot on cheap shots, it relies a lot on artificial situations set up, oh, let's get this hero against this villain and see who can trash who first, you know. And it's a rip-off of the public, and it's not good storytelling. I see that, I get my back up about it.
Looking towards the future, the Peenies are eager to expand their Elfquest enterprise in a big way.
Take over the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, elf madness, you know. Sky's the limit, you know. We are open at this point to exploring any avenue that will perhaps lead to a breakthrough in the larger media.
Strangely enough, in the world of comic book fantasy, reality often lurks close by. Among those who stopped by the Elfquest Fest to offer congrats was a top Hollywood producer. And though they're overjoyed by the attention they're beginning to receive from bigger brass, Wendy and Richard are especially humbled by the ongoing devotion of their fans.
We started out mom and pop type little business, and this is our 15th anniversary, and we're overwhelmed and pleased and honored that these people would stand out in a hot Los Angeles, Melrose Avenue day just to come in here.
To have been here for 15 years and have a crowd like this come it makes it very much worth the effort.
Our Buzz Best Bets and some classic Harlan coming at you next.
This is an Eagle Vision, a sport sports sedan that you might be surprised to hear is also an economy car. Well, not a typical economy car, mind you. But what would you call a sports sedan that offers four-wheel, fully independent suspension, advanced cab forward design, even driver and front passenger airbags, all for around $19,700? Well, I guess impressive would work too.
See your local Jeep and Eagle dealer.
Random access memory. Really good. Now, once again, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes.
At Compaq, we realized that learning about computers can be pretty intimidating. So we invented Presario, computers designed and priced to make it easier. They come loaded with all the software you need to get started right away. And they're backed by a 3-year warranty. WYSIWYG. So instead of sounding smart about computers, you can be smart about computers. The new Presario from Compaq.
Weird Al Yankovic, the ultimate collection. 14 amazing music videos packed into one incredible collection. You'll get fat, like a surgeon. Smells like Nirvana. It's a perfect holiday gift. But wait, there's more. There's Alapalooza, Weird Al's newest album featuring 2 additional monstrous videos that are also included in the Ultimate Collection. Jurassic Park, plus the brand new Red Hot Chili Peppers parody, Bedrock Anthem. That makes it 16 classic videos, all for only $19.75. And if you order now, you'll get the Weird Al Yankosaurus collector's card absolutely free. Call this 800 number for your own copy of 16 classic videos of Weird Al Yankovic, the Ultimate Collection. Plus your own Yankosaurus absolutely free. Only through this special TV offer. Use your credit card or send your check or money order to this address. Special Christmas delivery available. All for the amazing price of $19.75. Call now for Weird Al.
We've got mummies, monsters, and madness on this week's Buzz Best Bets. MCA Universal Home Video's Classic Monster Collection has proven so popular, 10 new titles have been added to the series.
Has any man before offered a gift of eternal life to his bride?
The films feature many of the great thespian scaremeisters of all time, from John Carradine in The Mummy's Ghost to Lon Chaney Jr. in House of Dracula. This is Hollywood horror at its classic best. The films, most of which were made in the 1940s and 50s, predate today's high-tech, glitzy effects. But some, like The Ghost of Frankenstein, still exude an eeriness.
The lightning. It is good for you.
While others, like The Invisible Agent, offer classic camp with the help of trick photography.
You see, I have a certain chemical in my veins. It takes the color out of my whole body.
Are you insane?
No, just transparent.
This series also boasts the appearance of Hollywood heartthrob John Barrymore in The Invisible Woman and master actor Charles Laughton in The Island of Lost Souls. And for those who can't get their fill of the Gill Man, he can be seen in 2 Creature from the Black Lagoon sequels, The Creature Walks Among Us and Revenge of the Creature.
The Gill Man has fallen out of his tank. Clear the area.
So, if you're in the mood for a terrific yet terrifying tale, these classic monster movies can creep into your VCR for $14.98 each. That's this week's Buzz Best Bet.
Okay, as you can see, if you look closely at my tie, friends, this is the Tasmanian Devil. This is a microphone. Ignore it. But the Tasmanian Devil is on my tie because I'm going to rant and rave and scream. I seldom do that, as you know. I'm a person of quiet demeanor, but I feel it is time to talk about the impending implosion in the science fiction market. Now, a few years back, when there was a huge horror genre, and there were 256,414 horror novels being published every month, all of which were sort of sickly clones of Stephen King's books or Dean Koontz's books, I predicted in my column, Harlan, Ellison's Watching, after which these commentaries are named, in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, I indicated that there was going to be a terrific implosion, that the field could not support all of that bad writing and all of those writers writing vampire stuff. I mean, I got to be very candid with you. Vampires bore the tuchus off me. I don't understand. I mean, once you suck the neck, what is there left to tell the story about? In any case, some people like reading about vampires. Let them go. They also like chafed thighs. This is not my problem. I said the field was going to implode and that a lot of people were going to find themselves in the water as the boat sank. That only those few writers who were really and truly good writers would be able to survive, would be able to float, would be able to swim away, and most of the others would have to, if they wanted to survive, start converting over to psychological novels, novels of terror, mysteries, or combinations thereof. Well, I was roundly pilloried. One agent, a very nice young woman, but a little self-serving, said, "What do you mean by that? I just sold a book for $1,500 to Zebra Paperback." Folks, my first novel back in 1955, 56, I got $1,500. So that was no big deal in 1992 or whatever year it was. And as you can see now, there's almost no horror line left. When you go into one of the big bookstores, there are a lot of books that look like it. They're being converted over. The only real line that's left is Abyss Books, which is published by Dell. Well, the same thing is about to happen in science fiction. Yes, it's finally come to pass. Sodom and Gomorrah are about to fall. A lot of people who have been writing, how shall I put it delicately, caca, are about to find themselves in the water with no boat. Even people like Piers Anthony and Jack Chalker, who have made a fortune with these endless trilogies and tetralogies and series after series after series, even they are not getting the kind of money that they got just a few years ago. Everybody is scampering and scrabbling for a new birth. And what's happening is a major weeding out process. Yes, I am ranting. Yes, I am raving. Yes, I am the Tasmanian devil telling you that all of this crap writing that has butchered our field and has made it the lowest possible level of reading in the last 5-10 years is about to be weeded out. A great many people are going to find themselves unemployed. But this is good for humanity, because now perhaps they will go take up electrical wiring, they'll get a job as a plumber, and as I have said many, many times, when your toilet overflows, you don't need Dostoevsky coming to your house.
After this interruption, the special effects from the new Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Sci-Fi Buzz is brought to you by Sega, creators of Genesis, Game Gear, and the coolest video games around. Welcome to the next level.
Joe, what do you see?
Reggie White.
This year, we at Sega Sports really studied the players.
Reggie White.
We learned some interesting things.
Reggie White.
Then we took that knowledge and created a new passing game and a new speed burst. There's a customized playbook and stats for an entire season. So, how far did we go to understand the players? Maybe too far. NFL Football 94 starring Joe Montana. Real teams, real players from Sega Sports.
Now, what do you see?
Yo, listen up. Do you know what my friend here just called you? He called you a glass-jawed, bird-necked, no-jabbing wimp.
Oh,
you gonna take that?
Step into the ring with Sega CD. Not your typical video game, huh?
Stick 'em, jab, move, come on. Right, there you go, left, hit him again.
Uh-oh. Prize fighters, only on Sega CD.
Okay, he takes back the bird neck part. Take out!
You are watching Sci-Fi Buzz on the Sci-Fi Channel.
They say Mozart composed from midnight to 7 a.m. Hemingway was at his best before noon. Edison, inspired by the dark. At Compaq, we understand that ideas aren't governed by a clock. That's why we're standing by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer your computing questions. Galileo, definitely a night person. The 24-hour helpline from Compaq.
Honey, they've blown up the host. This is a very easy special effect. We put on a wide-angle lens right there on the camera, and then we shot it from a low angle. Now, here's the tough part. Let's say you wanted me to be huge like this, and then everything else in the frame, normal size. That's where special effects become tough. Well, that's why they call it special effects. For instance, in the new made-for-TV movie called Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, there are hundreds of tricks going on, many of them in the same scene.
Sci-fi film buffs know that the original 1958 Attack of the 50-Foot Woman was more like a 50-foot turkey. Hokey plot and marginal acting performances aside, the film is now notorious for its pathetic visual effects.
I mean, there are some of the effects in the other film that are, unbelievable. They'll be unforgettable. No one will ever surpass some of the things that were done.
HBO has spent $7 million to retell this larger-than-life tale. Visual effects expert Gene Warren Jr. and his team at Hollywood's Fantasy 2 jumped at the chance to present the story in a whole new light.
Mrs. Archer!
I can see that.
Where's my husband? Uh-oh.
Warren is a second-generation effects supervisor. His dad, Gene Sr., won an Academy Award for his work on George Pal's sci-fi classic, The Time Machine. The effects in the 1958 Attack were dated even for its day, so Warren knew it wouldn't take much to give the new version a more polished look.
The effects are fairly up-to-date, modern. I mean, all the techniques are used that were used prior to 1958. There are techniques that go back to the last century. There are also a few digital shots, too, so it's 90 years of movies, all rolled up into one.
The story follows the life of Nancy Archer, a meek housewife who's pushed around by everyone. After encountering an alien spacecraft, she sprouts to 50 feet and sets out to gain control of her life. To create the illusion of a 50-foot woman, Warren and his crew used a technique called forced perspective. For instance, a miniature barn was set in front of a real barn. Then actress Daryl Hannah was placed on a platform in front of the miniature. Because film is two-dimensional, the camera reads Hannah as being larger than she really is. We were surprised, though, that Warren chose to go with miniatures instead of contemporary digital techniques.
When something works, you use it, It's not broken, don't fix it. And it was about the only way to have the volume of shots and make it affordable for an HBO movie.
Though Warren dreads the thought of anyone comparing his work to the cheesy original, the updated effects are not without their own touch of comedic flair.
I wouldn't say deliberate camp, because it's a mistake to try to do a picture that way anyway, but to keep it light, and the effects, again, had to fit. You didn't want them to look hokey.
Attack of the 50-Foot Woman premieres December 11th on HBO.
Hi, this is Sam Paz from Litchfield, Illinois, telling everyone they should pick up Jumper by Stephen Gould. It's a very interesting story about a young boy who finds out he can teleport, and I highly recommend it.
Next week on The Buzz, Rob Liefeld is working on something really big with Spielberg. We'll check it out. And Red Mars author Kim Stanley Robinson works on his new book, Green Mars. This is Mike Jarek saying I'll be back with you next week on Sci-Fi Buzz. Of course, unless I replace Dean Cain on Lois and Clark. That wouldn't be bad.